So good morning, good morning. This week's Torah portion is Vayislach. And before we go into the Torah portion, let's talk for a few minutes about what's happening in the world, in Israel, and how it connects very powerfully with the Torah portion. There was a 4-year-old girl that was released from being a hostage. Both her parents were killed on the kibbutz. She was with her mother, and they shot her mother in front of her. So she ran to her father, and they shot her father, who tried to protect her. She ran to a neighbor, and they caught her there. And her 2 siblings were hiding in a safe place. And 10 hours later, they were rescued. But she was taken as a hostage and released this week. And there's a woman, Sivan Rahav Meir. She has a very popular news website in Israel. And she posted a letter from Limor to Avigail. Limor is someone who writes this letter. Shalom Sivan. She's writing to the news reporter. My name is Limor Zussman. 23 years ago, when I was 6 years old, my parents were on the 3rd floor of the Versailles Wedding Hall in Jerusalem when it collapsed, and they fell to their death along with 21 others. Remember that story? I woke up in the next morning. I was all alone in the world. When I hear about Avigail Idan, the girl who lost both parents and was just released from captivity, I am familiar with the darkness that envelops her. I remember people sitting shiva and crying. I walked outside, and no one noticed. I went into the yard. Remember, she was 6 years old, and pointed at the 3 stars in the sky and announced, Ima, Abba, and God are watching over me together. At that same moment, I gathered otherworldly strength to cling to life. Over the years, I learned the verse from the book of Psalms, for my mother and father have forsaken me, but the Lord gathers me in. I learned about the strength of widows and widowers and of orphans. They have special protection. I don't want to promise empty promises. What happened never goes away. I am the same 6-year-old girl waiting for her parents to come home from the wedding. I am the 12-year-old girl at the bat mitzvah ceremony when all my friends stood with their mothers and fathers. To everyone who cares about the children who have lost their parents, I say, be with them in their pain, give to them, hug them, and ask nothing from them. Be sensitive and cautious, give them time, and most important of all, do not pity them. Leave your pity outside. Enlighten them about the strength within them. Don't focus on their scars, but on their resilience. Don't make them dependent on the kindness of others for the rest of their lives. Focus on their courage instead. Today, I am married, a mother, and studying to work as a family guidance counselor, perhaps because I lost my family. It's possible to choose life. All night long, I could not sleep, and I wrote this for myself, for the grieving families, for everyone, and especially for one little girl. May you be blessed, Avigail, in your return to us. And I felt that I should read this letter instead of just posting it, because it really, I think she gives us a tremendous, tremendous insight. Again, she says, don't give them pity, compassion, empathy, but not pity. Because there's an inner strength that everybody's going to draw from, that God gives them. And I want to tie this into a very similar story in the Talmud. There was a guy, Rabbah, who adopted Rava when his parents died. His father died, and then his mother died right after childbirth. So his uncle, Rabbah, a famous sage from the Talmud, adopted Rava. And if you read the Talmud, there's 2 partners, Rava and Abaye, very famous geniuses, Talmudic scholars from the sages of old. And one night, Rabbah was sitting with the 2 boys. They were boys still. And he said to them, where are your parents? Where are your parents? Where is your family? Where is your strength? So Rabbah pointed to the ceiling in the house, the rafters. And Abaya pointed to the ceiling. And Rabbah, the orphan, says to his uncle, here. And he went outside and he pointed up to the sky, to the stars. Now, why did the orphan boy, Rabbah, point to the stars? Why did Abaya point to the ceiling? Because Abaya had parents. So when you ask him, where's your family? Where's your strength? It's in his house, because he grew up in a house surrounded by love and parents. Whereas Rabbah didn't grow up with that security. He grew up without parents. So where did he find his family? Where does he find his strength? Up in the skies. That's how he finds his strength, because he doesn't find it within the contains of a house. He didn't have a house, metaphorically speaking. He's a child that, like this girl describes herself, that she went out and she saw her parents in the skies together with God. So when a person has such tremendous loss, where they have no parents, and they're growing up without that security of a home, metaphorically the home, where do they find strength and comfort? In the stars, in the heavens, with God. It's a very powerful thing to think about, because ultimately it really defines, where do we find our strength? Of course, it's beautiful. No one should have to grow up without parents. Everyone should grow up with that feeling of security. I have my mother, I have my father, I am in a home. But when a person is orphaned, where do they find their strength? In the stars, with God. This is a special protection and a special energy God gives the widows, the widowers, the orphans. That in this vast universe, they find their strength and their comfort in the stars and in the godly sphere, even though, God is everywhere. So I thought that I would open with this concept, because it really, really shows us how the human nature can endure and rise up even after such atrocities and barbarism. And we know they have a very long recovery that goes without saying. But God will give them strength. And in this week's Torah portion, I want to take one story. There's so many beautiful stories, but because every minute of our day is centered on Israel and what's happening, I want to take one story from the Torah portion, but I will catch you up on the stories. So in this Torah portion, if you remember, we missed last week because of Thanksgiving. Yaakov ran away from Israel because his brother Esau wants to kill him for taking the birthright and the blessings. He ends up by his uncle Lavan. He marries Leah. He marries Rachel. He marries their handmaiden Zilpah Bilhah. He has 12 sons and a daughter Dinah. And it's time to go back to Israel and establish his roots. And his father-in-law doesn't want him to leave. It's very prosperous with his son-in-law. His son-in-law brings tremendous blessings to his industry of flocks and sheeps. So what does Yaakov do? Jacob and his wives and their children and their entourage, and he's very, very wealthy, Jacob. He acquired tremendous wealth. He leaves when his father-in-law is out in the distant fields fleecing the sheep. How do you call when they trim the sheep? He takes his whole entourage, must be hundreds of people, and they go and they travel. As traveling but Israel, is the news that Esau, with his whole army of Hamas soldiers, are coming to attack. You're not coming back to Israel. You think I forgot the travesty of you stealing my birthright and taking my blessings, I'm coming to get you. So he prepares for battle. He prepares, he prays, and he also prepares negotiations. 3 approaches. If we have to battle, we'll battle. Perhaps we can negotiate, but we also have to pray to God. Now, as he's preparing to meet up with Esau, a very strange story happens. And this is what I want to focus on because it also is very connected to Hanukkah, which is coming up. I don't know if you remember the story. It's a very cryptic story. So Jacob realizes when he crossed the Yabak River, he left some little jars on the other side. He left some of his possessions. So he decides he's going back to get these jars. And like you might say, this is such a ridiculous story. Jacob, a very wealthy man. I could tell you right now, these jars, what are they already worth? Did he really need to go back to get his little jars? And not only that, it's very strange. It says he goes by himself. He goes by himself. Now, first of all, couldn't he send one of his servants? Say, hey, Joe, could you go back over the river, take my canoe, and go get my little jars? I don't really want to leave my little jars. Or take some guards with you, take some soldiers with you. No, he goes by himself. And I want to read you the story very quickly. What happens? I want to read it from my inside. He goes back and he haps upon a ish. Who knows what a ish is? A man, but it doesn't say his name. It says he meets a man. And Rashi says, who is this man? Rashi says, it's the guardian angel of Esau. So it's not really a man, it's like a supernatural man. It's an angel. It's called the host angel of Esau, is like a supernatural being who represents Esau, which can't be good, can it be? Right? Now the question is, how did Rashi know that Ish refers to an angel, the host angel of Esau? Maybe he met a man, but there's no travelers traveling the same route. There are no pirates. There's no smugglers or other people traveling the route. How does Rashi know that Ish means the host angel of Esau? After all, if you look further on in the Torah, there's another person who meets an Ish, an angel. Anybody remember the story of Joseph? How did Joseph get sold into slavery? He went to look for his brothers out into the fields. Now, how is he going to find his brothers? He doesn't have GPS. You could travel for miles and not find your brothers. So he's walking on, or he's on his horse, who knows, on his donkey. And the Torah says he meets an Ish. And the Ish tells him, oh yeah, you're looking for your brothers? He says, I'm looking for my brothers. You know where they are? He says, yeah, they're over there. So Rashi says, how did he know they were over there? Miles away. So Rashi concludes it was an angel. An angel knows where people are. Another person would say, I don't know where your brothers are. Call them on the cell phone and you'll find your brothers. So Rashi says it was an angel. But if Rashi says it was an angel, how come there he doesn't say angel of death, an angel of a negative angel? How come here it's a negative angel and there it's a good angel? So Rashi explains, we understand this, it depends what happens. Here he knows it's a nasty angel because the angel attacks Jacob. There, the angel is helpful. The angel says to Joseph, oh, you're looking for your brothers? They're over there. So depending on the circumstances is how Rashi deduces if the Ish, the angel, was a good angel, like the one that directed Joseph to the right location, even though it was to his own detriment because he gets sold, or an angel here where it's the host angel of Esau and he's beating him up and they're having a fight. Okay, an interesting insight. So now I want to read you what happened. Just give me a second to find the place. Very quickly. Excuse me. I have it in Hebrew, but I realized I should read it in evil. Okay, here we go. 1 second. Okay, here we go. And he rose up in that night, and he took his 2 wives and his handmaids and his 11 children, and he passed over the fort of the Yabok, the river Yabok. And he took them and he sent them over the stream. And Jacob now went back, and he was left alone. And there he wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the dawn. And when the angel saw that Jacob had prevailed against him and was winning the fight, he grabbed him by his thigh, by his loins, by his calf, and he dislocated his sciatica and tried to get him off and said, "Let me go. The dawn is breaking. I have to go back up to the heavens." He says, "I will not let thee go," Yaakov says to the angel, "until you bless me." And the angel says, "What's your name?" He says, "My name is Yaakov." He says, "Your name will no longer be Yaakov. You are now going to be called Yisrael. For thou hast striven with God's man and has prevailed." In other words, Yisrael, you fought with the host angel and you prevailed. Your name is now going to be Yisrael. You won the war against me. And he blesses him and he goes back. And Jacob releases him and he goes back. So the whole story begs a little bit of understanding. Let's quickly. So he goes back to get these little jars, ridiculous. He's alone. Why is he alone? Take a guard, take a bodyguard, take another person with you, send your servant. He goes himself. He meets the host angel. How do we know it's an angel? Rashi says. The angel attacks him. Now, Yaakov is very strong. He holds on to this angel and he fights back. They fight the entire night. Now, morning is coming. It's obvious the angel has to go back home. There's a reason he's not permitted to stay much longer. So he says, "Let go of me." And he dislocates Yaakov's sciatica. That's why we don't eat that part of the kosher cow or kosher meat, because of what happened. So if you're wondering why certain pieces of meat from a kosher animal are not permitted to be eating, the sciatica thigh area, it's because of this. So Yaakov says to him, even though he's in terrible pain, he has a dislocated hip, so to speak, "Bless me and then I'll let you go." He tells the angel, also crazy. An angel comes to kill him. A man attacks you in your backyard. You grab him. He says, "Let go of me, let go of me." You say, "No, first give me a blessing." Who asks an enemy for a blessing? You knock him out and you run. He asks his enemy for a blessing? I'm a sugar in a story here. It seems like, wow, we don't know what's going on. And so the angel says, "What's your name?" "My name is Yaakov, Jacob," which means the heel. He says, "Now your name will be changed to Yisrael because you have fought and prevailed." And he blesses Yaakov, and Yaakov releases him, and he goes back. So now, how are the Jewish people called? Are we called sons of Jacob? I'm the only one called the sons of Jacob, Jacobson, my maiden name. But all of you, the Jewish nation, how are we called? The people of?
Israel.
Yeah, the people of Israel, the land of Israel. And in Hebrew, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. You ever heard anyone say the sons of Jacob? Only when we're studying Torah, we say the sons of Jacob. But in the whole world and in all the writings, we're called the children of Israel, not the children of Jacob. Even though we come from the 12 tribes of Jacob, we're called the children of Israel. And the reason we're called the children of Israel is because look at Jacob's history. He's born and he's called Yaakov. Why is he called Yaakov? He's holding on to the heel of his older brother who's born first, his twin. So they call him Heel. They call him Yaakov. Then, in order to get the birthright, he has to sell the soup to his brother. In order to get the blessing, he has to put on his brother's clothes. Then his brother wants to kill him. His mother says, pack your bags, run away. And then he finally becomes wealthy and established, and he's going back to Israel, and his brother is going to come kill him again. And then he goes to get his jars, and he's attacked by the host angel. Give the guy a break. So Yaakov didn't have it easy. It seems his whole life till this point is of Yaakov, the underling, the one who has so many hardships. And look also, if you think about it, Yaakov was an escape artist. When Esau wants to kill him because he took the birthright, his mother said, run, and he runs. He doesn't go back and say, you know what? I'm going to confront this right now. You want to fight it out? We'll fight it out. He runs away. Then his father-in-law doesn't want to let him leave. So when his father-in-law goes away, again, he escapes. He doesn't confront his father-in-law like, say, you're not going to let me leave? I'll show you who's the boss. He escapes. So it seems Yaakov's whole personality is one of escaping, running away. Now comes to the fight with this host angel. What do you think? Yaakov also wanted to run away, but he couldn't because the guy dislocated his sciatica. He was hurt. He couldn't move at that moment. It was terrible pain. God makes him confront and fight to the end. You want to let you go, bless me. Then I'll let you go, he says to the angel. So at this moment, when Yaakov finally stands up for himself and doesn't run away, now he can be called Yisrael. He's a metamorphosis, this transformation in the Jewish patriarch called Yaakov. And this translates into us. We are not a Yaakov. No one is stepping on us anymore. We are Yisrael. We have fought and we'll prevail and have prevailed. So this happening to Yaakov is our story too. This is our lives. This is what's happening and has happened to us. But no, we are called B'nai Yisrael, not B'nai Yaakov. We're not the Jews that run away and escape. We're the Jews that now take that host angel and we fight to the bitter end. But we're also a people that when we face our enemies, even when we're victorious, what do we say to them? We say, bless me. I didn't fight you because I hate you. I didn't fight you because I need victory and I need more land and I need more money. I fought you because I was forced to fight for my people and for my land, for my life. Now, bless me. We are a people that never looks to hate, revenge. That's not who B'nai Yisrael are. We are people that even our enemies, we say, bless me. Bless me. This has to end on a good note. We did what we have to do, but we are people of blessing and peace. But we know we have to fight. At times we have to fight. We have no choice. An angel attacks, and what should he have done? Oh, okay, take my life now. So this is our story. This is our story. Now let's go back. It says he was alone. So here you need Kabbalah. This can't be regular, right? Levada is not referring only that he's alone. He was alone, by the way, but it's also referring to who is it say is alone? Who is the quintessential alone? God. Like it says, Ein Od Milvadai. There's no one but God. There's no one but God. If you think of everything, there's only the only reality in the universe is there's a God. Levadai, there's no one but God. You cannot say there's anything else but God in this world. So when it says he was alone, that is the moment where he connects to in a very high level to God, where he realized there's nothing but God. Who's going to help me? Who's going to save me? Who's going to protect me? You have to prepare for war. You have to pray during war. You have to negotiate during war. We know that. But look, at the end of the day, I'm alone with God. It's up to God. It's me and God. And when in moments of such crisis, when he's being attacked, he realizes, in the very deepest core, there's only God to depend on at this moment. And your inner soul, which is the godly piece of you, comes out. That's what it means he was alone. Not that he was alone, physically alone, which he was, but he was alone in realizing that, you know what, there's nothing but God. Nothing else matters. It's my relationship with God that's going to get me through this. It's the moment when you're in the abyss, when you're drowned, when you're being choked by your adversary. You realize I'm levad. There's me and God and nobody else. It's the inner connection to God comes out when you realize there's nothing else that's going to take me. There's nothing else going to save me. That's why Rabba and this girl ran out to the skies. They didn't run to another person. They ran and said, Ema, Abba, and God, that's who's here for me. Up in the stars. Those are the 3 stars. When a person is in such a place where there's nothing to hold on to, the walls have crumbled, the parents are killed, you don't have anybody. You go outside and you say, Levadai, I'm alone. I'm alone with God. I'm alone with who I am. That's who I am. And that's where your inner strength comes from. The Levadai, when you're the aloneness. And now let's explain the connection to Hanukkah with the jugs. He goes back for the jugs. So the commentaries say, jugs? Pach? What's a pach? A jug? Where do we see that word? In the story of Hanukkah. Tell me the story. When is the jug of oil pivotal here in Hanukkah? Who knows the story? What happens? Jane, you want to hear? Jane, Diane, go ahead, both of you. Share the story of the oil.
It's supposed to last only one day and it lasts 8 days.
Right. Jane, what else?
So they went to get the oil. Is that what the point with the jug? So
yeah, go ahead. Develop the point. Go. Beautiful.
And it came and it filled up a jug. Is that why you're?
Alicia that we studied a few weeks ago. That's cute. Yeah, I didn't think of that connection. That's also beautiful. The story we did with the prophet Elisha, he tells the woman to fill the jugs and she now has business, oil business. Very good. But it's a story.
I mean, the story of Hanukkah, we basically know that the oil wasn't supposed to last after the temple was destroyed, and it did by miracle.
The temple was not destroyed yet. It was vilified. It's funny. The Greeks, what they did, they put in idolatry and they desecrated the temple. Then the Maccabees came in. Now, what was the thing? The jug of oil had to have the high priest's seal. Like when you buy Advil, if the seal is broken, you know someone tampered with it. So the law with lighting in the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash was it had to be oil that the Kohen Gadol put his stamp of approval. You know, the wax seal, like in the olden days, they would seal it with wax. And if that wax seal was broken, they assumed and were suspect the oil might have been impure or tampered with, and they can't use it for the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. So when the Maccabees and the Jews, the priests, the Kohanim, come back into the Beit HaMikdash after the Greeks defiled it with non-kosher animals and idolatry and all kinds of pagan acts, they need oil to light the menorah. There's no oil. They finally found one little pach shemen, jug of oil. The same word is used when he goes back to find his little jugs, and they light it. And this little bit of oil was supposed to burn for one day. It burns for
8.
8 days. So we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days. But let me ask you a question. There was enough oil for one day, right? So the miracle is not an 8-day miracle, it's a 7-day miracle. So why do we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days?
It was a miracle they even found one.
Very good. Okay. What else? Think of the psychology. There's many answers. One of your answers is correct. There's many answers. One of the answers is, you know me, I love philosophy, psychology. They had a little jar of oil, right? What normal people say? Why bother? It's not going to burn for more than a day. We can't make another oil for another 8 days. It takes 8 days till we process and we get an olive press and the ganze Geschichte. Why bother? So the Talmud tells us the miracle was that they bothered to light it even for one day. They could have just said, the heck with it. God will forgive us. We just fought a terrible war. You know, it'll be okay. For 8 days, we'll bring more oil. The fact that they even attempted and we're not demoralized is part of the miracle here. So the first day is for the fact that they even attempted to light it. And then it lasted 7 more days in addition. So this little bottle of oil, by the way, symbolizes very, very much our identity as Jews. Yaakov went back to get a little jug. And the commentaries say the word pach, Pach reminds us of the story of Hanukkah. So just like there, it's the story of oil, even though this happened before, by the way. The story of Yaakov happened years before the story of Hanukkah. But just like Pach Shemen in the story of Hanukkah refers to jugs of oil, we deduce that this is an allusion to what would happen in the future. So this was a jug of oil that he went back for. So he's saying, why did he go back for little jugs of oil? He's a wealthy man. He could go to the marketplace and the shuk and buy oil, as much oil as he wants. But he didn't go back because he needed the oil to make an omelet or he needed the oil to light his lamp. He went back because this little bit of oil defines the Jewish story, the Jewish life. At times, we have very little oil within ourselves. We're in a very dark place. And we think to ourselves, what's the point? A little bit of oil, it's going to last what? 1 day? A half an hour? We don't realize that from this little bit of oil can come the greatest strength and inspiration and victory. That is precisely the little bit of oil within us, the soul, the godly soul within us. It sometimes seems very small and almost hidden, where we want to give up. That's what's going to ignite you. That's going to create the bigger flame. It's always the littlest thing that sparks the flame. Think of, God forbid, fires, forest fires. A Shmendrik was smoking a cigarette in the woods, threw it. Now half of California is burnt down. It's always a little spark that ignites it all. So we never should underestimate the small jug of oil. It is the smallest jugs of oil that bring the greatest light. I want to share with you a story I just read about a kibbutz, Nir Oz. Adina Moshe, she's 72. She was one of the hostages taken. Think of the ages of the hostages. It's horrendous. So she was released. They told her, the Hamas monsters told her she's going to be released today. So she says, no. You can't release me. My friend over there, she's 88. She has to be released first. I'm younger than her. And she fought with the terrorists in the tunnels. And they didn't listen to her. Now just think about this. Think about the strength our B'nai Yisrael have. She's about to be released. I would run for my dear life. She says, no. There's a woman older than me. She's in her 80s. Take her first. God sees his people. Look at his people. Look at his people. This is not only a Holocaust story. This is a story that's happening now. There's another magnificent story that shows you about this bottle of oil. There's another story, is one of the kibbutzim is a very secular kibbutz. They do nothing Jewish on this kibbutz. It's a kibbutz. They don't believe really in Torah and mitzvahs. It's a kibbutz. It's like, the kibbutzim were started by the communists, the socialists, right? So there's a kibbutz. I don't know if it's near. Oh, there's another one. I wrote it down. I can't remember. I'm trying to see on my, me, I write notes on everything. I'm the quintessential note taker. My kids laugh. They go, Ma, you have notes, but you never read them. I'm like, right, I write it to remember it. Oh, Kibbutz Be'eri. Kibbutz Be'eri, it's a very secular kibbutz. And not exactly following Torah mitzvahs. They're not exactly looking for God over there, right? So one of the women was released, a hostage from that kibbutz. And her neighbor saw her, met up with her. And she hugged her and kissed her like it was amazing. And then her neighbor calls out, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, to her friend, the hostage. And she says about herself, I never prayed in my entire life. But when I saw my friend, my neighbor released, something came over me and I called out Shema Yisrael, she says. I never said it in my entire life. I'm an older woman. I never prayed. I never believed even in this. So that's the jug of oil we're talking about. You say, what's a little bit of oil? This is the oil. This is the oil that rises to the top. You buy salad dressing. Before you pour it on your salad, you got to mix it. Otherwise, you end up with the oil rises to the top. You end up with only oil. So you shake the bottle and you pour. No matter how much you want to put the oil away, you want to bury the oil. You want to say I'm assimilated. You want to say I'm not Jewish anymore. Judaism has gotten me nowhere. I am from the intellectual, brilliant people of America. I am an enlightened citizen. My mother was Jewish, but don't even call me Jew. I don't believe in that. Even when you say that and you bury your oil will rise to the top. It might be now. It might be in 2 years. It might be when you're 99. Your oil will rise to the top. This kibbutz woman, she said about herself, me saying Shema Yisrael? It was like me jumping out of a plane in a parachute. Oh, no, that doesn't come. But she could have said Shechianu v'kimanu v'yiganu lozman hazeh. She could say Shabbat Shalom. She said Shema Yisrael. Hear, O Israel, God is one. This is the oil. This is why Yaakov goes back. Because that oil is symbolic of all future generations. When we think, why do we need to go back for the oil? I can get more oil. A little jug of oil, But the Pach HaShemen, the oil of Yaakov, is the oil of the menorah. And it's our oil now. And it's the oil that's going to burn for all eternity. No one can take away our oil. Because that's who we are as a people. That's who we are as a people.
What do you mean?
And there's one more very beautiful, beautiful part of the story. It says there that he fought the whole night, right? It was a nighttime fight. And then it says, Ad alot hashachar, till the sun rose for him, for Yaakov. He fought till the sun rose for him. So the commentaries see, what do you mean the sun rose for him? If you were in Westport, Connecticut, did the sun rise only for Diane? Only for Jane? It rose for all of us. You can't contain the sun for your little. So what do you mean rose for him? And it didn't rise for me? So the Kabbalah Hasidus explains something spectacular. We're not talking only about the sun rising. We know the sun was rising for everyone. We're talking about the state of mind. If you go back in time, when Yaakov runs away from his parents, it says the sun set for him. And he lies down. Remember the story? He puts rocks around his head and he dreams about a ladder. You remember that story, everybody? Okay, you do, Jane? Okay, so it doesn't matter. When Yaakov runs away from Esau, 22 years ago, from when I'm the story with the jars, the jugs of oil, he comes upon a place. And this ends up being the place where the temples, the Beis HaMikdash, would be built. Now he comes to this place, and it said the sun set. It doesn't mean the sun set, it was dark outside. The Torah explains, the Hasidus, Jewish mystic explains, he was in a dark place. He was psychologically and mentally in a dark place. The sun set. Not only it said it was dark outside, it said in his life, he's like, what do I have? I was a wealthy, pampered boy with a silver spoon in my mouth, living with mommy and tati in Israel. Now I'm in Israel, but I'm running away from a killer who's going to kill me. And he had nothing. You know why? Because Esau sent his son, Eliphaz, to track down Yaakov and kill him. He meets up with his uncle, Yaakov. He says, I have to kill you. My father ordered it. I cannot go against my father. He'll kill me. So Yaakov says, it says that a penniless man, a poor man, is like dead. So take everything I have, and then you could tell your father in all good honesty that I'm dead. Because a poor man, a penniless man, is like a dead man, it says. Now, Yaakov ran away with a lot of money. His mother and father gave him a credit card. They gave him gold coins. They gave him food. They gave him a suitcase full of fashion clothes, designer clothing. He came from a wealthy family. So Eliphaz took everything and left him only with his walking stick. So Yaakov is in a very, very dark place. He has nothing, no food, barely any clothing, no money, no prospects, a price on his head, brother, right? So he's in a dark place. The sun set for him, it says. And he wakes up in the morning and he takes his staff, and it was hollowed out and inside was oil. And he pours it on the place where the Beis HaMikdash will be built. Where this ladder goes up and down was a symbol and a hint that this is where the Beis HaMikdash will be built. And he takes from his staff and pours oil. And this is where the oil story begins. Because where did he get oil? In his staff. It was hollowed out. And he pours it on the little altar he makes and says, I'm going to bring an offering to God, this oil. That's all I have. God, protect me. Now he's a wealthy man. He crosses over, goes back. And here the sun rises for him. There he was in a dark place. God. Now he found his inner strength. He always had a relationship with God. He was the patriarch, but he found that inner special levadai. He really realizes it's nothing but God. Yes, right. And he takes again the oil. Continuation of the story. The continuation of the story. So this is our story. We sometimes the sun has set. Now that we're in a dark place, there's no doubt about it. There's no way you can say we're not in a dark place now. Until every Jewish person is returned. And we don't even know. They're claiming they killed them. We're going to be in a dark place. But we have to remember that we have the Pach Hashemen. We have that little jug of oil within ourselves. And we have to ignite it. And the way we ignite is connecting to God, to our inner core, our neshama, by doing mitzvahs, tzedakah, prayer, speaking out, unity, anything and anything that can turn the tide. Say, God, we mean business. We've done, now you do. There's nothing wrong for us calling out that this is a travesty to Almighty God. We can't say, there must be a reason, that's it. No, we cannot be complacent. We know God has a reason, but we have to tell God, your reason, good. We're happy you have a reason. Time to bring Mashiach. Time to change the tide here. Enough is enough. Time to restore the Beis HaMikdash. As a people, we must call out to God. We have to fight. We have to pray. We have to negotiate. But at the end of the day, it's the oil. It's our connection to Levadai. Einaid Mavadai. There is nothing but God. And it's up to God. I'm sorry, God. Got to do it. Enough is enough. And I don't think the Jewish people could take it anymore. It's just not right. Wherever you look, they're attacking in Yerushalayim, and they're attacking in Shechem, and they're attacking in Yehuda and Shomer, and they're saying it's their land, it's occupied territory. The Jews have been in Israel way, way before the people. Who ever heard of the word Palestine? Weird, show me. The only time there was Palestine, I'll give you one little thing, is there was the Romans that we're talking about now. When the Romans destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, they made a coin and they wrote on it Palestine. Why? Referring back to the Plishtim. Remember Goliath? When Goliath attacked King David? Trying to like shtech and mock the Jews, so they call them Plishtim, Philistine. This is Palestine. Referring back to the time of Goliath. But the Jews were in Israel. What are you talking about? Where are their Palestines? Who's the Palestine? Goliath? You mean Goliath who fought King David with a slingshot? But it was King David was in Israel at the time. Where do you find the precedence that the Muslims had Israel first? Show me. Where did you get the land? From whom and from when? Show me your document, your letter of inheritance. You're calling me occupied? I'm occupying my land. I'm a settler in my own country, in my own land. I'm a settler. I'm occupying my land that God gave me through my father Abraham. What kind of baba mices are we being fed here? So we have to stay strong. The reason I'm repeating this is I'm preaching to the choir is because we have to stay strong and not let all these deceitful stories change the narrative. I guarantee you, if we lived in New Jersey, if Israel was New Jersey, they would also try to kill us over there. This is not an issue about Israel belongs to them. This is an issue, they want genocide of the Jewish people. We have no right to exist, Chas v'shalom. This is what the Germans said. This is what the Crusaders said. This is what the Spanish Inquisition said. This was what Paro said, that Jews cannot exist. But guess what? Am Yisroel Chai. God promised us the sun is going to rise. It rose for Jacob, and it's going to rise for us. God promised us this. So God made good on the promise. Don't wait too long. I don't know how many more of us can survive this. And we should see the redemption and peace, and not one hair on any Jew's head should be heard anywhere in Israel and anywhere in the world. And every single hostage should be returned healthy and alive. And that's what, and this is it. And we must, again, tap into that little bit of oil, a little bit of oil. So I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.